In 1949, Audie Murphy stepped off a train in Los Angeles carrying 2 suitcases and a chest full of medals. At 24, he looked 16, all freckles and red hair, but his eyes were older than the century. He had killed 240 German soldiers, held a burning tank together with his bare hands, and earned every decoration the United States could invent. Hollywood wanted a hero. What it got was a boy who could read a lie at 50 paces. The studios dressed him in cowboy hats and taught him to smile on cue. Between takes, he sat alone on the back lot, rolling cigarettes with one hand, watching the extras rehearse their laughter. He noticed who flinched when a script girl said husband, who ordered 2 drinks but nursed one, who never let the makeup man powder the left side of a neck that carried someone else's love bite. Audie never wrote the names down. He simply filed them away the way he once memorized enemy positions, quietly, precisely, and without judgment. To Rock Hudson, the giant in a cage. Rock Hudson was 6 feet 5 inches of manufactured perfection. Universal built him as every woman's dream and scheduled his dates the way the Army scheduled patrols. In 1955, the studio flew Secretary Phyllis Gates to a quickie wedding in Santa Barbara. The press release called it love at first sight. Audie, who had shared a soundstage with Rock on Magnificent Obsession, watched the groom sign the register with the same mechanical grin he used for close-ups. One night after wrap, Rock found Audie on the catwalk above stage 12. The big man's tie was loose, his eyes red. "They want me to adopt a baby next," Rock said. "A baby, Audie? I can't even keep a dog." Audie offered a cigarette. "You ever think of just walking? And go where? I'm their prize bull." Audie studied the glowing tip. "Bulls break fences sometimes." Rock laughed until he cried, and Audie led him. 3 decades later, when Rock stood before the world and said the word AIDS, Audie's fence-breaking prophecy finally came true. Cary Grant. The roommate arrangement. Cary Grant and Randolph Scott lived in a white house on the beach in Santa Monica. Fan magazines photographed them grilling steaks, captioned, "Two bachelors beat the high cost of living." Audie visited once in 1951 for a charity softball game. He came early and found Cary ironing Randolph's shirts while Randolph mixed martinis and hummed Cole Porter. Cary greeted him with a famous grin. "Audie, old man. Gin or lemonade?" "Coffee," Audie said. "I'm still on army time." Randolph winked. "We have a pot older than you are." They drank on the porch as gulls wheeled overhead. A photographer from Photoplay appeared, begging a picture. Cary and Randolph struck the usual pose, arms slung casually, teeth flashing. Audie stood to the side unnoticed. When the photographer left, Cary's shoulders dropped a full inch. 12 years of that," he murmured. Audie raised his cup to the only honest room in Hollywood. They clinked porcelain against porcelain, and the ocean carried it away. Anthony Perkins, the boy who couldn't come home. Tony Perkins was 27 when Psycho wrapped, still thin enough that wardrobe pinned the back of his shirts. He and Tab Hunter met at a cast party in the hills, slipped out early, and drove to the beach in Tab's convertible. Audie heard about it the next day from a grip who'd seen 2 silhouettes kissing under the Santa Monica Pier. A year later, Audie worked with Tony on the trial. Between takes, Tony practiced lines in a whisper as if louder words might shatter him. "You okay, kid?" Audie asked. Tony's smile flickered. "I'm always okay on camera." "That's not what I asked." Tony looked toward the dolly track, voice barely audible. "I keep waiting for the scene where I get to be me." Audie had no answer, only the memory of a French farmhouse where he'd once hidden for 3 days. Afraid to sleep, he squeezed Tony's shoulder and walked away. 32 years later, Barry Berenson would tell the world her husband had loved men and women both. Audie, long gone, would have nodded. Some scripts rewrite themselves after the director yells cut. Raymond Burr. The garden behind the lie. Raymond Burr weighed 300 pounds and carried every ounce with dignity. On Perry Mason, he delivered justice in a 3-piece suit. Off camera, he cultivated orchids in a greenhouse he shared with Robert Benavides. The official biography claimed 3 tragic wives and a son lost to leukemia. Audie read the studio handout, folded it once, and used it to line a trash can. One Sunday in 1962, Raymond invited Audie to the valley. They strolled down rows of cattleyas while Robert poured iced tea. "Smells better than a soundstage," Audie said. Raymond's laugh rumbled. "No makeup required." Audie reached out and touched a purple bloom. "How long you two been tending this garden?" "Since the Korean War was news." Audie nodded. "Longer than most marriages, I know." Raymond's eyes softened. "Some marriages don't need a license." They never spoke of it again, but every Christmas after that, a box of orchids arrived at Audie's ranch with no card. He knew. James Dean, the rebel who refused Lane. James Dean roared onto giants set in a Porsche Spider and a scowl. Audie, playing a bit part, watched the kid rehearse a scene 15 times until the tears were real. After rap, Jimmy cornered Audie behind the corral. "They want me to pick up a girl in the next picture," he said. "I told them I'd rather pick up the cameraman." Audie spat tobacco juice. "They'll cut that line. Let 'em. I'm tired of saluting their flag." 3 weeks later, Dean wrapped his car around a telephone pole. At the funeral, Audie stood apart from the crowd, remembering a boy who wanted nothing more than to breathe free air. Hollywood buried the rumor with the body, but Audie kept the spark. Marlene Dietrich, the bravest legs in Christendom. Marlene Dietrich had sung Lily Marlene to soldiers who hadn't seen a woman in 6 months. Audie had heard her in a muddy tent outside Anzio. Voice husky from gin, smoke, and courage. After the war, they met again at a Paramount commissary. She wore slacks, a beret tilted like a challenge. "Little soldier," she greeted, kissing both cheeks. "Still killing dragons?" "Only on screen now." She studied him. "Screens lie. People don't have to." She took him that night to a club in Hollywood where the cigarette girls wore tuxedos and the pianist played Weimar blues. Marlene danced with a redhead in a sailor suit, then with Audie, then with the redhead again. Nobody blinked. Audie leaned in closer. "You always this brave?" "Darling," she said. "I crossed an ocean to spit on Nazis. A dance floor is child's play." Barbara Stanwyck, the dame who owned her lines. Barbara Stanwyck could cry on cue and swear like a stevedore. Her marriage to Robert Taylor was announced with champagne. It ended with separate bedrooms and a quiet settlement. Audie worked with her on The Violent Men and noticed she never let Taylor visit the set. One lunch break, she found Audie feeding carrots to a stunt horse. "You believe in forever, cowboy?" she asked. "I believe in not lying to horses." She laughed low and smoky. "Smart man." Years later, when Helen Ferguson's name showed up in Stanwyck's will, the tabloids howled. Audie sent flowers to the funeral with a card that read, "To the toughest dame west of the POS. You kept your lines clean. Montgomery Clift, the ghost in the mirror." Monty Clift showed up on Red River with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass. After the car crash that rearranged his face, the pills arrived in amber bottles. Audie visited him in the hospital, bringing a fifth of bourbon and a deck of cards. "Deal," Monty rasped. "Loser tells the truth." Audie lost on purpose. "I killed men who were just following orders," he said. "Still hear them at night." Monty laid down a royal flush. "I kiss men who call me brother on set. Still taste the lie." They drank in silence until the bottle was gone and the ghosts were quiet. Monty died 5 years before Audie's plane went down. At the memorial, Audie placed a single poker chip on the casket. "House always wins," he murmured, "but sometimes the players get to choose their game." Tab Hunter, the All-American Lie. Tab Hunter's smile sold war bonds and bobby socks. In 1950, he was arrested at a party the Tabs called Limprist. Warner Brothers paid off the cops and scheduled him for 3 dates a week with starlets who didn't know his real phone number. Audie crossed paths with Tab at a premiere, both in rented tuxedos. "Nice bow tie," Audie said. "Studio issued," Tab replied. "Comes with matching smile." Audie slipped him a flask. "Drink this when the smile hurts." Tab kept the flask for 50 years. In 2005, he published Tab Hunter Confidential. Page 1 carried a dedication to AM, who knew the cost of admission. The list that wasn't. He never wrote their names down anywhere. He carried them instead the way he once did grenades, close to his chest, ready if needed, but praying the pins stayed in. When friends asked why he bothered, he shrugged. Somebody's got to remember they were human before they were myths. His plane spiraled into a mountainside in Virginia on May 28, 1971. The crash report specified one personal effect recovered: a worn leather wallet containing 9 photographs clipped from movie magazines. On the back of each, in Audie's cramped soldier script, was a single date, the day he'd first seen the mask slip. Epilogue in orchid light. Years after the crash, Robert Benavides opened a new greenhouse wing. He named it the Audie Murphy Corridor. Visitors wander past cattleyas and vanda orchids, none the wiser that every bloom carries a silent toast to 9 stars who lived in the dark so their light could reach the screen. Somewhere, a freckled soldier tips an imaginary hat. The masks are off, the credits roll, and for the first time in a long time, everybody gets to go home.